Alright, hello guys. It's really sunny and my selfie stick can only go up and down. So I am going to be detailing my car today. So it's been a while. Let me get out of the sun. So it's been a while since I did it, probably easily over a year. And it's time. It's warmer out. It's like mid to late spring. It is about to be May tomorrow in Jersey. I found a good day and I'm going to be cleaning my car. So, like I said, it's been a very long time since I detailed it properly and it's due. So, I'm going to be doing a little walkthrough and showing you some of the stuff. Now you can see the headlights got plenty of swirls on them and some oxidation right up here. So that's why it looks, kind of bad, really. Severely up here. So we will be polishing that out for sure. The front, pretty much of any car, the front is always the worst because it's hitting everything. So you get a lot of bug splatters and just a whole bunch of dirtiness. So if we see, yeah, you can see just how much dirt and grime I have on the car, hiding that beautiful color. And if I wipe this away a little bit, you can see it's a big difference, and you can see the specs much better, like the specs that are embedded in the paint. But yeah, the hood is terrible. We'll zoom out. The hood is terrible. It's got a lot of dirt and grime, and my car, the paint has these little gold specks, so it's kind of hard to see swirl marks, which is a good thing. And I did kind of polish this last year, so you won't really see it, but it's going to be hard to see if you have specks like that. Unless you have like a black and white car, then you're screwed because you'll see that easily. Well, maybe not white, black I should say. So my main focus is going to be, I have a scratch right here, which you could probably see right there going along. Yeah, so I'm gonna attempt to buff that out. We will be hitting pretty much all the exterior, the front, the wheels especially. So the wheels are very dusty. I just got new tires, so they're actually good. I just gotta give them a cleaning. As you can see, there's plenty of brake dust on them. Go around the car and just give it a clean. So generally, you always go top to bottom. Always start with the top of the car. Make your way there, and then as you go down, all the tougher stuff is already loosened up. So now I'll be going over my detailing setup, pretty much all the stuff I use, and a little bit extra because this is going to be a deep detailing because it's been a year since I last took care of her. So this is pretty much the setup I have, and I'm going to be going in chronological order so you see how I've learned. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to go through with the power washer. Okay, now this is not essential at all, this instrument. As long as you have a hose, you're fine. This just helps out a little bit, and I got it because for housework stuff too. So it's an electric one. Now there's various nozzles to it, each one with the angle is going to decrease, so you're going to get a lot more pressure. This one is pretty much nothing, just kind of like flirts it out. You go 40, which is great for just wetting the car overall. The 25 is going to use a little bit more pressure, and the 15 is the only one I would use for the wheels. Like if I'm going to do wheels and tires, I do 15 because the wheels are going to need it pretty much, and they are strong enough to take that. Never ever am I going to use the 0 degree, which is basically just a laser on anything related to a car. That's like if you're cleaning your concrete or something, or there's like a stain on your house siding. This is absolutely unnecessary, and really you're just sticking with these three. And then again, a hose is perfectly manageable for all of this stuff too. So I start with the wheels first and foremost. A reason being is the wheels are typically the dirtiest and require the most amount of your time and energy, especially if you have bigger tires and bigger wheels overall. And they're very easily neglected. So if you don't touch those forever, it's going to be very difficult to clean. So I have a concoction of things. And also I do it in the beginning because if you leave them for the end, by the time you're done cleaning your whole entire car, you're going to be really tired and you're not going to want to clean those wheels. They're going to be a problem. So I have a concoction I do for the wheels. Now, I will mention always 2 buckets. If you're going to clean your wheels first, use a bucket and then clean it out before you go to clean your car, because that bucket's going to be really dirty. So what I do is, obviously just some regular water, don't need that much, and I use dish soap, which might be turning heads and opening eyes, but I don't use this on the car, okay? I use it for the wheels. Now the reason being is this is going to give me some extra strength in degreasing, and again, the wheels and tires can take this. This is perfectly fine. So I use just a little bit of this, and then I use my assembly of brushes. So I have a tire brush, I have a rim brush, so that'll go in between any tough spots, and then a detailing brush to go in by the lug nuts or anywhere that may need a detailing brush. This is great for also like around decals and your logo of your car, your license plate, in between tough spots. So this is very helpful. Now, let's sit down. So what I do is typically take my brush and I soak it in there with the soapy water, and I go around the entire wheel. I just basically soak everything after I've power washed what I could. And then I'll spray my wheel cleaner. Now, there's a variety of these. You'll have like mag cleaner, like for magnesium wheels, chrome wheels, whatever. I have aluminum, so I'm going to be rocking those. And what this does is, it's basically a wheel cleaner, but it also has a rust remover into it, which is great if you have, well, every car's going to have brakes, but brake dust will easily get eaten away by this. And then I have an all-purpose cleaner, Super Clean. No one's sponsoring me here, but these are my favorites, and I found them to be very effective. Eagle ones are really affordable, so is Super Clean. And I made a solution of this. It's a really good all-purpose cleaner, and it's basically a concoction. I have some soapy water, I have my wheel cleaner, and then I have an all-purpose cleaner. So I have degreasing, I have rust removing, and then I have more just overall dirt and grime. And the reason I have this many and at this ratio is because the tires and wheels can take it. And again, it's just to get as much as I can because the wheels are typically really dirty. So once I finish the wheels, I will go on to the second main part, which is the rest of the car and the soap and everything needed for it. So again, I'll follow up with the power washer. I'll get through as many stains that might be hard to get. So maybe like leftover bird stains, bug stains, tar. I'll go in with, probably the 25 degree, just enough to see if I can loosen it. If I can't, don't be pressured to want to like keep using the power washer, because you might chip your paint, and that's not good because then you're screwed. So what I like to do is I'll give the car a once, walk around with anything I think might be complicated, and I'll go around with some IPA and just gently rub off what I can, and then I move to my second bucket. Now by this time I would have cleaned out the wheel bucket. That's going to be tossed. It's going to have fresh water, and it's highly recommended you use 2 buckets. One bucket is going to be for your main soap, where you dip your sponge in, you clean it, you wipe the car, you go around, or you do whatever section, And then what you'll do is you'll dip the used sponge into a fresh bucket with just water, and then that is going to help remove any leftover, specks, dirt, anything that would have been trapped on the sponge. So then when you get more soap from your soap bucket, you'll have less grit pretty much. Most of the grit's going to be on that, and then less in here. So when you're going around cleaning the car, you're not actually scratching it too. And I use this type of sponge. It has a little bit of an abrasive side, if you have any tough spots. And then it has this spot where these little tentacles, and they're evenly spaced out. So this is gonna help prevent anything from getting trapped in there. So it's a good sponge. Now, I have two soaps here. Normally, I always use this. It's Meguiar's Gold Class Shampoo and Conditioner. It's a great one. I like it. And it's just really good. However, I'm not using this one. I'm using this. Now, this is from Underdog. It's their prep and aftercare soap. The reason I'm using that is because I do plan on ceramic coating parts of my car. I'll see what I can get done in one day. So I'm going to stick with their brand, and it's kind of just like a stripping soap. But this is, I recommend this. Like, if you're not gonna like do something like ceramic coating, you could do this. And then I have my clay barring set. The only reason you would ever clay bar and ever want to or need to is if you're going to be doing buffing and polishing. Otherwise, this isn't going to do anything for you. It's not going to make your car look shinier or anything. It's pretty much exclusively for prepping to polish. And basically what this does is a clay bar. It's very firm, like that, and you go around your car and you basically rub it into your car's surface, and what it does is it's going to strip out any like micro specks of dirt, dust, anything that might get trapped in the surface. So when you're buffing it, it's not rubbing in all this extra stuff. Think of this step as like exfoliating for your skin before you put on like a lotion or a toner or some shit. You want to remove all of the stuff that might be trapped on the surface. So there's an individual spray that comes with this that you can use the spray with. I just like using it as I'm going along with my car wash, and it's not really much of a difference. It saves me time also. So you go around and smooth out your car, and of course always dry with microfiber. Anything really. You don't want to use terry cloth or some sort of rag, unless it's your wheels or something. But if you're doing your paint, do microfiber and get a bunch of these are cheap and they're very good. So the next section, my polishing, paint correction basically. So depending on how severe your car is, you might just need a polish or you might need both. So compounding is technically a little bit more aggressive. Basically what it does, it will get rid of the majority of those swirl marks, as you can see, like represented here, before and after. Any fading that the clear coat might have dealt with, any like severe cuts or scrapes that's in the clear coat at least, will be buffed out by this. And then you would move on to the polishing, which is going to get rid of any micro swirl marks, and it's really going to make the paint pop. So this will basically make the paint look nice again, and then this will really put that cherry on top pretty much. And then you could move on to waxing, but because what I'm doing is ceramic coating, I don't need to wax, or I'm not going to. So I have 3 various pads here. They're typically always color coded. Like one color is designated to a bit of a firmer pad, then one color to like a medium, and then one to a soft. There's a whole different way you can do this, like in terms of combinations, but generally it really depends on how severe your paint job is. Mine's not that bad, so I'm probably just going to be using the medium one with the compound, and then the soft one for the polishing. Or actually I should say this is for like buffing, this is for polishing, and then this would be to apply whatever finish, like a wax. So I'm going to do compound with my yellow and polish with my orange. And then once I have completed all of that, I could apply my ceramic coat. I've never done this before. I've seen videos, but it seems pretty simple. Assuming your car is perfectly clean and, you know, stripped of anything, you would basically just do a couple of dips of this onto an application pad or a rag if you got one with the product, and then you just go around kind of like that, and you let it, you let it flash, which is essentially like kind of letting the product dry, and then you buff it off, and then you have a semi-permanent coat of protection from stuff like chips and swirl marks, you know, on your car. The reason, if you're gonna do this, you really should invest in doing a proper paint correction and detailing, because once you put this on, you're not going to be able to buff anything off, like if you see swirl marks. So if you see swirl marks on your car and you put this over, you're still going to see those swirl marks, and it's going to be very difficult to buff those out. The best way to explain it is like if you take your nail, right? If you put a, it's not going to focus. If you put a scratch in your nail like that, and now I have a scratch going horizontally, and I put, you know, an acrylic, a clear acrylic, whatever, over it, I'm still going to see that scratch, and I can't buff that out. I can't do anything because it's underneath a protective coat. So you would, obviously, before putting a protective coat, you would buff this off, put a protective coat, and now your nail is a little bit more scratch resistant. So that's my setup. So in summary, we're going to power wash the entire car. We're going to go over it, remove what we can, wet it. We'll start with the wheels, my 3 cleaner concoction. Clean up the wheels with the separate bucket. We go to our main bucket for washing. I'm using a stripping detergent because I will be prepping for a clear ceramic coating. Otherwise, a regular soap like that is really good. Always use 2 buckets, this type of sponge. I'm going to be clay barring my car, or at least the sections that I'm going to plan on polishing. Otherwise, no point clay barring if you're not going to polish that piece like right after. I'm going to move to paint correction, compounding to get rid of any scratches in the coat, any major swirl marks, polishing to really pop it and give it the nice finish, my pads, and then I'm going to ceramic coat what I can. So that's the setup for today. You can see the bottom lip of my car is all wobbly. It was cheap, so I don't care. And I just have to like staple it really to look better. But we're gonna get it going. Okay, so now I'm just gonna do a close-up of the wheel cleaning so you see how I do it, and then I'm just gonna breeze through the rest. But I like to wear gloves because these are a little bit more of the stronger chemicals, and I'm gonna get in there, so it's just safer, especially if you got like eczema or you got like open wounds or something. You don't want to get any of these chemicals in, and if you're forgetful, you touch your eye, you know. So I wet the tires. I'm not expecting to clean anything with just the power washer because of the nature of wheel stains and stuff. So now that I wet it, I'm going to go about first with my regular soapy water. Just light. I just want to get it on the tires, that's all. So now I'm going to start with the wheel cleaner. I'm just going to refer to this as the rust remover by this point, just to help give it a little bit more time to do its thing. So apply vigorously. Prioritize the rims because that's where you're going to see most of the difference. Get right in your calipers. That's going to be the main source of the rust. let that do its thing. In the meantime, I'm going to apply my all-purpose cleaner to the tires and the wheel well. And of course, the rim as well. Now you don't want to let any of this stuff dry on, so it's always good to take one wheel at a time. Don't feel like pressure to do all of them, because if any of this dries on, it's going to be really difficult to clean and you're going to have a bad time. So while that's going, we're going to start cleaning. I really invest in a tire brush because this stuff really gets stuff out. And you would be surprised with how filthy your tires are and how dirty they get. So really give these a good clean. Now the reason you really want to clean these like really good is if you're going to apply a tire shine or some sort of like, you know, tire shine. If this isn't cleaned properly and you just keep throwing on new ones, it's not going to stick well and it's going to look really ugly, and it's just going to be difficult. Again, it's like if you want to put lotion on your, if you want to put like a facial lotion and you didn't clean off the lotion from yesterday, you just slabber it on there. It's going to be really gross and ugly. So at this point, go in, clean your rims. And you don't want to rush, but at the same time, you don't want to take too much of your time, because if you put stuff on like the iron remover, you don't want the stuff to dry out. So it's generally always a good idea to wash your car like not in direct sunlight like me, or on a really hot day, because as you're using those cleaners, if they dry on your car, they're going to stain and it's going to be really difficult to remove. So just move with a purpose, pretty much. And if you feel it's drying out, just keep spraying. You know, better to keep it moist than dry. And I can go in my detail brush around the tougher spots like the gas valve and the lug nuts, most importantly. And then in the calipers. I painted my calipers gold with the heat treated paint, so it actually sticks and it's nice. So I want those babies to look nice. I want to go in there and clean them. I mean, if you could have your wheels off, even better. But I'm not rotating my tires, so I'm not doing that. Calipers are nice clean. And once you're satisfied, you go around one more time with the tire brush. Really give it a good clean. Oh, they have those drill bits with like the sponges, like the brushes for like this type of stuff. I generally avoid that. That stuff should be used for carpets, because this material is already somewhat firm. For the tires it's fine, but when you're dealing with like clear coat on the rims, it's a little bit too aggressive, especially considering that it's really easy to use too much force when you have like power tools. It's easier to mess up than it is like if you're doing it by hand. So if you use those like aggressive brushes on this and you have a thin coat of like clear coat, you could really scratch it. And that is one wheel. So I took the time to like stop and talk and explain stuff, and it's about the 7-minute mark. Sorry, lived by a train. And you can see, I mean, at most 7 minutes per wheel. Realistically, it's like 5. But if you can see that triple combo of cleaners really cleaned off any dust. This is just some scraping. It's not a piece of dust. And a good way to tell, take a clean towel. So, and I wipe. See? Nothing. And an even better way to tell, if you're feeling really confident like me right now, if I clean the tire properly, see? Nothing. That is a clean tire. And of course the caliper is shining nice and bright. Yeah, so we're gonna continue on with the rest of the wheels. All right, so I got done cleaning the wheels. Let me show you what they look like. Start cleaning them up. It's basically dried now. Let me zoom out my fisheye. There. So it looks, obviously it's like ashy because that's what dry rubber looks like. But the important thing is the actual wheel, or rim I should say. I already demonstrated how clean I got it. There's just a couple things left, like up here, which is more just chipping as opposed to staining. You might get little residual pieces of, you know, dust, but once you clean that off with your towel, that like flies off like really easily, pretty much. And when you're going to apply your tire shine and all that, that's when you do that. So we pretty much removed like 99% of everything. See, the calipers are nice and shiny. And I'm going to show you exactly why we have a wheel bucket and why you never use the same bucket, especially if you don't wash it out. So this is the wheel bucket. I don't know if you could see. Let me fudge, hold on. Yeah, you can see how dirty that is. That, and keep in mind, my wheels weren't even that dirty, okay? They really weren't that dirty. But look, let's say you just had one bucket, you know, or you go to a car wash and they only have one bucket and they don't rinse it, you better run while you can. So always clean out your wheel bucket so you could have a nice clean bucket at the second go around. See, look at that. Woo! So yeah, now we'll move on to the soap. The one extremely bad thing right now is that it is very sunny, and that is what you don't want when washing your car, unless you have like a roof or a garage, then who cares. But the sun makes cleaning really complicated because you got to move really quickly. Even on a cooler day like right now, it's like 65. Cleaning in the sun, especially with soap, will dry that out very quickly, and that's going to leave water spots and stuff that's going to be difficult to remove. So I'm going to be moving quickly, section by section. I'm going to be wetting it, cleaning it with the sponge real quick, and then wetting it off. I'd rather have water dry on there than soapy water. So it's going to take a little bit longer and a little bit more annoying, but that is the way we're going to go with it. When it comes to using a sponge or any sort of abrasive on a car, there's actually a way to do this. I already explained that I use this type of sponge because it's got like tentacles that are spaced out, so it's less likely to trap any dirt and grime that may have stayed. But when cleaning the car, you never, or let me not be that exaggerated, but you really shouldn't go in like circular patterns unless you have like a really tiny spot, you know, and then like you want to get that out and you plan on buffing your car out. Okay, doesn't matter. But let's say you buffed it and everything. The general rule of thumb is to go in linear motions with pretty much in the direction this way, however you want to relate that to the car. So in this case, the hood, I want to go this way, and I try to avoid any, you know, swirl patterns or going, you know, this way. Okay, I want to show you guys something. So, I forgot to mention, I like to do a pre-wash typically. So what that means is I kind of just go around the car in any like tar spots or some sort of wax or resin. I usually go over with my APC cleaner, all-purpose cleaner, with detail brush. So soften it up, try to brush it up before my main wash this time. And as I'm washing the car, I notice I have this right here. Let's see if you gotta see. This is some sort of like wax, or probably tree sap or something that my soap wasn't doing the trick. Okay, so that's why I always have a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. So I'm gonna try and two-hand this, just to. Okay, that was way too much. So a little bit of that, you see, and that's gone. Cleans it. So at this point, guys, I decided to start clay barring my car. As you can see, I kind of just dip it in some of the soapy water for lubricity purposes, and I just go around again in a linear motion. This step isn't too big of a deal with direction you go in, because regardless you're pulling stuff out, but just keep everything in a linear motion, might as well, and just continue, wash it off, and proceed to each corresponding panel. And basically, like I said, what this does is removes anything that may have been embedded in the paint that a regular soap and a sponge might not remove. So for example, here, this is just specks of something, miscellaneous you could call it. And what it does is, as you glide the clay, it pulls these specks off. And how do you know when to stop and when to, when to like switch your clay? Well, you wouldn't have to switch it. You could first off, you could just flip it, or you just knead it, and then like you didn't keep spreading it out. But I don't need to do that because my side is clean. Because I clay barred this last year, I did a whole side panel with just this side, and it's very minimal, so I was able to just keep rocking it. But if your clay bar starts looking like this, start kneading it and getting a fresh section. And basically, how do you know if you're doing it right? Well, you just go by feel. Initially, it might really depends on how bad your car is, but I'm going to use mine for example. I had the soap on it and I was gliding. It was going perfectly smooth, and then I felt like, oh, a little bit of grip here. That means there's something there that the clay is picking up. So I just focus on that until I don't feel any resistance. That means I got what I got, and then I could keep moving on. And you keep doing that until the entire surface is just gliding, like you don't feel any resistance. And you go really light. You don't have to use that much pressure. It's just enough to loosen it. And then once you're done, rinse it off and then let it dry if you want, because now there's no soap. And this is, again, you'd have to go by feel. As you can see, there's still plenty of swirl marks, so clay barring is not going to remove that. It's not going to provide any visual change. It's essential for paint correction and fixing your clear coat. So this is going to feel really smooth. This is going to feel much more grippier. I just want to stop and say that, but on to the rest. I'll give it a large count, and we'll Okay, I'm gonna show you what it looks like. So right now this is pretty much just washed. As you can see, the specks are much more visible. As you can see, it's like a snow globe in there. It's got a very beautiful paint job. And I didn't even wax it, I didn't even polish it. So right now, it's still got its swirl marks. But the car's just clean now. So, as you can see, the specs are really popping nicely, and just wait till I give it a good polish too. If you see right now, again, it's kind of hard to see, but maybe this way. Yeah, this way. So I just made that line there. There is still like water residue that dried up. Again, this is why you avoid doing this in the sun. But let's say you do this, instead of like re-wetting the whole car and drying it off that way, just keep slightly damp towel and just take that off, because that is not any leftover detergent. That is just water. It's basically hard water, so it's the calcium sulfate and the magnesium sulfate. Sorry, calcium chloride. So you wet it a little bit just to get those minerals off, and then you get yourself a nice fresh dry towel and just buff that off, and it'll be gone. See, it's not there. As long as you rinse it off, assuming that you didn't leave any detergent on there, you'll be fine. You can just do it that way. And if you cleaned your car properly, this is why I got yellow, bright yellow ones to show you. As long as you clean it properly, there shouldn't be much. Maybe this when you're like tucked in the corner and getting something, but for the most part, you should have done a good job as long as you cleaned it properly. So I'm going to go ahead, dry off the car of any water spots, and then we will move on to paint restoration. So we shall continue. What the fuck is that? Okay, peeps, we're back. I moved the car back a little bit because I want to do the buffing polishing part, and where the sun is located, I want to do this outside of direct sunlight. If you can, again, if you can do anything in your car without sunlight, that's good. Or at least not direct sunlight, I should say. So I just pulled it back a little bit, and I'm going to be moving section by section. I'm personally really just going to prioritize the hood and the front as best as possible, because those are the main ones I want to get. They're the largest panels, they're the most vulnerable to scratches and stuff. And then I'll try to go around the top. I mean, more than half of my top is glass because I have a moonroof. Secondly, it's a crossover. It's like 5.5 feet before you could actually see anything. I don't think I'm gonna waste time or product on the top at all. So I'm just gonna do the front, and I'm gonna go section by section. So it's really easy to like get greedy and try to do everything all at once, especially with such a slow and tedious process like buffing. But you want to split it up like in quadrants. Either get yourself a nice square like this, or just do this section right here. Okay, you don't want to do everything all at once, because then you run dry and you end up scratching and it's not good. So we're gonna use our firmer pad, which has indents, and I don't even know if I want to use this. And we're gonna use our compound. Again, the compound is gonna be taking out the majority of the deeper scratches, if there are any oxidation and whatnot. And then after I went through compounding everything, I am going to polish everything to really make it pop. So I also got a drill bit style one where I could put it on a drill to get any smaller or harder to reach places. I don't think I'll need it right now, maybe around the decals and like the curves and stuff where the license plates are, but I'll leave that later. We're gonna get to buffing. So everyone has their way of doing it. I've seen generally you do like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you kind of maybe smear it around, but you definitely pat it around the section you're gonna take care of. I'm just gonna do it this way. As long as you're doing the actual buffing part, how you should be, then I don't think this part really matters. So mine has it goes up to 6,000. So what you do is you put the polish or buffing compound on, and you could smear it on around if you want a little bit. Whatever, it's gonna get smeared on regardless. This might help it though. And you generally start out with like 2,000 and 3,000 just to spread it over the section you're gonna work over. So there's like a nice even coat, and then you crank it up to like 5 or 6, and then you start buffing it. And you generally go like, you'll go like this, and like you'll 1, then you'll go up to the center, and then the third, and then you start going vertically like that, and then you do that like a cross hatching, I think like 3 times or so. It really depends on how severe your thing is. So this is the cleaned, washed, buffed, and polished product. Now I had to put it out in the middle of the street like this because of the sun, but look at that. Look at that shine, that color pop. You can see a glitter from all the way over here. I'm going for a close-up. Again, you couldn't really see any swirl marks to begin with because of my paint, and it wasn't that bad. But look at that. Try and go in. I mean, it looks beautiful. It seems like I missed that scratch a little bit, but that was the really deep one. That's fine. Again, this isn't a show car. It's my car. So, there's the finished product. Now all that's left is to throw the ceramic coat on it. I didn't even do the wheels yet, like in terms of putting a shine on them. As you can see, this was touch up from the dealer, but it looks good. It's been a whole day, and I'm happy. We cleaned her up good. So, long story short, did a full detail, decontaminated it, clay barred it, buffed it, polished it, and we applied the ceramic coating. As you can see, look at the sparkles. There. That is a shiny car. Came out really nice. We'll go on top of it so you can see the, look at the specs. Woo! You can see me. You can see that I need a shave. Oh, sorry. Yeah. That is beautiful. Let's see how long it took. Yeah. Oh, 5 hours. And I'm not even actually done. Like, I didn't shine the tires. And if I'm keeping it completely honest, I didn't buff the back half. So pretty much, I only buffed the front up until the passenger doors. Or should the front doors. The back and the rest, I didn't touch that. I didn't even ceramic coat it. It was just too much. and it really wasn't necessary, to be honest. I'll get to it another time. But this is the finished product. Thank you guys for sticking with me. If you did stick around for this long, it was a pretty long and tedious journey, but it was my first detail video, so I went a lot into detailing, like explanation wise, and why I did what I did in certain ways. Any future videos would definitely not be as long or complicated. This is more of an in-depth and total detailing. So thank you again for joining, and look forward to whatever other videos I kind of post. Thank you.